If you know the symptoms and get the facts, you'll know the signs of a heart attack. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if it sounds familiar, call 911.
Pain in your neck, chest,
arms or jaw,
shortness of breath.
Please tell us more. Cold sweats and nausea, tiredness.
It's time to take it
serious. Back pain, stomach pain, shortness of breath. Cold sweats, nausea, dizziness. If you know the symptoms and heed the signs, you'll be around for a long, long time. Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if any sound familiar, call 911.
Learn a song that could save your life. Get a free download at womenshealth.gov/heartattack.
Women, listen to me, and when I'm done, if any sound familiar, call 911. If any sound familiar, call 911.
A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
911.
The Educational Theater Program at the City College of New York proudly presents the 2014 Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Family Arts Day offers free fun for everyone. There will be theater games, face painting, puppets, sing-alongs, clowns and mask making, live performances, and much more. That's Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., held at Aaron Davis Hall on the campus of the City College of New York at 135th Street and Convent Avenue. For a full schedule of events and directions, visit www.ccuny.edu/edtheater.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my loo, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
Welcome to City Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Lisa Koiko, president of the City College of New York. April is Jazz Appreciation Month, and to celebrate, there are awards ceremonies and concerts being performed all over the world. Here at City College, students were just treated to a faculty jazz ensemble concert last Thursday. We're very happy to have in the studio with us today a member of our faculty jazz ensemble. He's a pianist, composer, arranger, and an educator, Mike Holliver. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks a lot.
Great to have you here. I just have to talk a little bit about what you've done because you've done so many great things. Professor Holliver has served as conductor, arranger for many institutions and jazz orchestras in the United States and abroad. As a sideman, he has performed on over 50 recordings, and he has released 4 acclaimed recordings as leader. He served as an associate director of the Broadcast Music Inc., or BMI, Jazz Composers Workshop since 2007. We really are very, very privileged to have you, Mike, as a highly active artist on the international jazz scene and here at City College, sharing your real-world experience with our students. I know you teach jazz composition, jazz arranging, harmony, improv, rhythm section seminar, and you're also the director of CUNY's Jazz Festival. Later on in the show, and you heard a little bit of a snippet of their playing before we started this broadcast, we're going to have joining with us the BFA jazz program members. And we'll have 3 talented players, John Ludlow on alto sax, Wallace Stelzer on acoustic bass, and Colin Hinton on drums. These students who are with us today, along with our fabulous faculty, will be performing at the upcoming CUNY Jazz Festival. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you here today.
That's great to be here, Professor.
So tell me a little bit about the jazz program here at City College.
Well, it actually started over 35 years ago already. There's about 80 to 85 undergraduates, and there's a graduate program that's the equivalent of 2 small ensembles, so maybe 15 master's students. And there are 6 of us now that are full-time on the faculty, which is great. And the students take lessons with one of many of the... We have a list of quite a few dozen of the great artists available in New York that compromise most of the private teaching that they take. A few of us sometimes will take some private students, but we tend to teach all the sequence classes to the majors.
Okay, and tell me about the sequence classes, because people a lot of times who may not know jazz kind of think jazz is just this freewheeling, form of music that doesn't require the kind of training. And
well, they take 4 semesters of harmony and improvisation and 4 semesters of a class called performance techniques, which I think is really important. That has to do a lot with sight reading, which means reading music the first time you see it and executing it well. So to me, a very big part of being a professional is being able to read well, because it means that you can get into a variety of situations very easily and that you can prepare music very quickly. In the jazz world, the way things work is very often you have one rehearsal for a performance. Or in a case like this, everybody knows what their role is, and we didn't rehearse. We just say, what do you want to play? Okay, let's do that. And everybody learns what their skills have to be on their instrument, and we just name the tunes and do them.
That's amazing.
So we try and teach some of those, some of the ensemble. They learn repertoire and ensemble skills, like a lot of it is how to enjoy like the great social component of jazz, which is that a lot of it is improvised, and you get to interact and really have a improvised experience with your fellow musician. It's great.
That to me seems like an amazing experience, but you have to be well trained in order to be able to improvise. You just can't improvise, right? So you have to have the basics. And
it's a blend of how you can do things by ear, and how much you've listened, and then everybody has a different ratio of how much is study and how much they hear, but everybody has the same requirement that you have to just listen extensively, so that depending on how cerebral or how emotional it is to you, you can take care of speaking the language, because it really is learning a language.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's really exciting. Do you have to be able to play an instrument before you get into your jazz program?
The BFA jazz majors, that's true. But there is also a vocal jazz program that has about 20 students in it now. So there's singers and instrumentalists. And to be in the BFA jazz program, you do already have to be playing. And there's an audition process for that that demands a certain playing proficiency and also some harmonic knowledge, some idea of what you're doing. If you're lucky enough to be gifted with amazing ears where you can just do it, you still have to learn some things on paper, because it helps you with composing, it helps you with teaching skills later on. So really being able to do the written part and the hearing part are vital.
This is going to seem like a very naive question. When you have an ensemble, so like you're in a class and you have an ensemble, a jazz ensemble, like the guys are going to be playing, do you then critique how well they do? How do they hone their skills? Is it just a matter of doing it over and over? And
well, one thing for sure is a big part of it is you have to spend a lot of time actually playing. Like you go into a practice room, there's certain things you have to do. You have to get to a proficiency on your instrument. We hope that you play in tune. We hope that you can read well. I'm talking of our fellow professionals. And as you'll hear, these students, they're professionals. They're all working outside of school. Exactly. And I have to say, there's so many students in the department that are like this. Once you feel that a student is fun to play with, that's already a really high skill level. I mean, these students are fantastic to play with.
And I know you're going to love hearing them. And then they're going to come on and we'll be able to talk to them a little bit later in the program. Tell us about some of the band members that performed with you in the jazz ensemble last week.
Okay, that was the faculty jazz ensemble.
I was the faculty, okay.
Which is, Yeah, that was Professor Scott Reeves, who's been here. He's probably been here for 13 or 14 years now, and he came to us from the University of Southern Maine. And Scott is a trombonist, a composer, and an author. Scott has written a book called Creative Jazz Improvisation that is, and I don't say this because he's my colleague, it is the best textbook on jazz improvisation that is available. It's very widely used, published by Prentice Hall, which is a major, and all of us, when we were doing that search, we were all actually familiar with the book. And we were like, oh, and then he's
and we were able to recruit him.
Yes, great teacher, great colleague. And then Steve Wilson, Professor Wilson, who is this is his first year here full-time. He's quite a renowned saxophonist and composer. Probably has his own career at the highest level of anybody on the jazz faculty. And he's arguably the first call alto saxophonist in New York City.
Really?
And he was teaching at, I think, Juilliard and the Manhattan School, and left both of those to teach for us full time. And he's a fantastic musician, great colleague, beautiful person.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. And we do have fabulous faculty here at City.
Oh, yeah.
What drew you? I know you said 4 acclaimed recordings, and I want to hear about them, but I'm also interested in hearing your narrative. What took you to City, to teach at City, and what draws you to being able to educate students and opening up their hearts and minds and souls to jazz?
You know, for me, I started teaching college very early. When I finished my master's, I started teaching right away. This was in Binghamton.
Okay.
And then when I moved to New York, because I already had teaching experience at a young age, I started teaching at NYU part-time. And then up here, there was a job, a part-time. They were looking for someone to conduct the studio orchestra. And a couple of my friends said, that has your name written on it. And I came up here and started teaching part-time. But what really... part of the connection I feel, and what really makes me like doing it, first of all, here the student community is fantastic.
They are amazing.
Like great students, great people, really high talent level. It's a very international student body, which I love, and I like watching people from other places interact. And but I also was I started playing very early, but all my training was classical. So later, coming to jazz, I remember learning how to play. And so I feel like I can share that with students. Like, I was 25 when somebody told me that, so I'm telling you now. So I feel like that kind of connects me to the students. Is that I was a late bloomer.
And we were talking about that before we came in, about everybody blossoms at a different time, and you have to take your own path in blossoming. Right. And sometimes it so helps to have a faculty member like you be open and talk about the journey, because students can get very discouraged so early. They say, well, I didn't start it at 13 or 12 or 8 years old, and I'm just coming into it. But it is not an easy road, music. It's a tough, competitive field.
That's true, but when things go well, you really get to say you're lucky to be doing something that you love for your work.
True.
And that really is, I enjoy every type of work I do. I enjoy almost every moment of it.
Well, nobody does 100%, but if you can say that the vast majority of the time you love what you do, you're blessed. And that's what we strive to teach.
Oh, yes. I do feel very lucky.
Good. Tell me about your recordings.
Well, in New York, those of us, particularly people that are full-time educators in New York, we maintain an outside professional career. And I've worked a lot as a sideman, and occasionally you feel like you need to make that statement on your own. I actually just did something last week. For the first time, I had enough, during the school break, I had enough time to do something as a leader. And so I did 2 quintet recordings and 2 big band recordings, which big band is another term for jazz orchestra.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like the Duke Ellington Jazz Orchestra,
Okay.
Count Basie Orchestra. Those are another term for big band. It's the same thing. Jazz orchestra sounds a little more elegant, but when you put Count Basie in front of, something doesn't sound that inelegant.
That's exactly right.
And that's a big part of what my outside professional activities have been. A lot of conducting and writing on commission for this group, Westchester Jazz Orchestra, that I directed for years. That is now dormant after a great 10 years. And then I work with a couple of the national radio orchestras in Germany. They actually have tax-funded full-time jazz bands and symphonies that work with the radio stations there.
Wow.
And they bring American well, not just American, but there's a lot of us that are writers and conductors that will arrange an entire program for them. But doing a small group thing, being a composer, every once in a while you feel that need to document your own work and then to play concerts of that music.
Wow, that is really cool. Tell me about how you learned to go from a classically trained musician. What made you make that shift in your own path into jazz?
Well, it was hearing jazz.
Really?
I fell in love with it. At the time, I shouldn't tell my students out there this. At the time, I was playing a little saxophone and not very well, and that was my first connection. That while I thought I was going to be a classical accompanist, my work was like as an opera rehearsal pianist and chamber musician. And then I also played a little saxophone, and I started hearing Coltrane, and Oscar Peterson. I got the jazz bug, and that was it.
Wow.
After I finished my master's in classical piano, my teacher there, the guy who directed the jazz program in Binghamton, said, "You're in my group now. Figure it out." And I was like, "Okay." And that was
really
yeah.
Sink or swim.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was. But being a good reader, and having rehearsal skills and having conducting skills that I learned from there. Rehearsal technique for running a band, that's really served me now.
Why, tell me about that rehearsal technique for running a band. How do you do that?
Well, dealing with I have two different approaches.
Okay.
With students,
Yep.
when I'm rehearsing, I'm trying to teach at the same time,
Right.
so that when you say, when you make a correction or repeat something, that they're trying to learn something from it, other than just that particular set of notes or that phrase. And then when I work with a professional band, to me, a big part of the skill is, first of all, you realize that there's 17 musicians in front of you, and you're probably somewhere in the middle as far as skill level, talent.
Okay.
So a big part of the rehearsal technique is time management and being effective so that they don't get bored and so that they can sound as good as they can as quickly as possible. And that's what, I have some conducting technique, and that helps with performances. But really the key to rehearsals is just being efficient with time so they can learn the music.
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but that's true. You must have a swath and a big skill level differential. And if you have people that are very highly skilled and they get very bored, it can show in the performance, I would guess.
Well, in the professional bands, the level is uniformly high.
Yeah.
But the idea is you just have to make sure that you ask for what they really need so that they sound, they can learn the music as quickly as possible.
When our students join City College, do they come into the jazz program as if they're transferring in as beginning students, or if they're coming as freshmen, or do they come into a more generic music program and then find their way to?
It does depend on the level. There is
Okay.
they take an audition and a placement test.
Okay.
And sometimes with the placement test, we'll advise them to take some preparatory, usually harmony classes, before they start the actual improvisation, harmony improv sequence.
Oh, okay. So then it depends really also on their skill level and where they're at. And do many of them end up playing at clubs and places in the city?
It's great. It's great when I see my students, advertising that they have gigs, and I love seeing that they work with each other. Because this isn't something I really had, but that a lot of people, when they go to in music programs, they're making some of their future professional connections, and our students are doing that now. I love seeing that.
It must be so thrilling, right? Because you think even if you had a teeny little part in that, and it's always lovely to see the students just shine.
Yeah, but they're out there, they're gigging.
That's so good.
And working for a lot of people outside of each other, not just their fellow students.
Oh, that is really. Can you tell me, talk about your Fred Hirsch master class and the kind of master classes you do?
Yeah.
And you might want to tell the audience what a master class is as well.
There's a lot of different ways to do it, but we usually ask the guest teachers when they come in to do what I consider a traditional master class, which is where they hear students play and then they give them a public lesson. They talk to them in front of an audience of other students or whoever wants to come in. Sometimes people from our music classes will come in that aren't particularly pianists or saxophone or rhythm section or whatever the focus is. And Fred is one of the great jazz pianist on the scene now and composer. He was my teacher, has been my teacher on and off for the last 15 years. He has a teacher. Everybody's always trying to sharpen their
Well, you always
skills.
do, right? You never stop learning.
So Fred, this is funded by the Rifkin Center, and we really thank them for that. He's been doing a master class in rhythm section or piano or composition skills every semester for the last 12 years. So he just did his 24th master class here.
Oh my gosh.
And then the others are just various people from the scene or friends of mine who I say, hey, why don't you come up to school? You know, got a little bit of money, meet the students, here's some play, talk to them. And this has now been just really dozens and dozens of.
And that gives them networking opportunities to students, because every time you're connecting somebody who's playing professionally in the field, it gives them the opportunity again to get a bigger, deeper, broader network, I would assume.
Right,
too.
that helps with that. And also just the thrill to meet these people and interact
imagine.
with people who they own their recordings, and they go to see them play, and then they come up to school and they interact with them, and it's great having. The faculty here is like that, though. You know, the same level as those students. They just see them almost every day. So
I know, isn't that? It's so phenomenal. What a great opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about what's the types of jazz, like different? Tell me about a little bit of different types of jazz you might have in terms of. I know there's more Latin jazz. Do we have any particular emphasis on any kind of jazz? Or?
You know, I think we're very open-minded in the program here. I mean, there are the basis for the harmony improv language teaching is what would be called bebop language, which is what you would hear from like Charlie Parker and maybe post-bop. But we don't teach a way of playing. But I think, and I think the rest of us on the faculty think, that type of melodic language is really the basis for the language, and that better prepares people for doing whatever they want to do.
Okay.
There is a Latin band here, and then we do different kinds of small ensembles, like one semester would be Brazilian, and there's usually maybe 4 or 5 small groups, and a few are a little more straight ahead. There are different eras that get focused on. Hard bop era, like late 50s into early 60s, a little more modern. Sometimes it's a free jazz ensemble, which would be Ornette Coleman, if you're familiar with him. Less organization harmonically and a little more freedom of form that way. So we try and get into all of that, and there's no one particular way to play.
Okay, and you let then students find their own comfort area and niche where they want to.
Yeah, sure. Once they do their assignments really well in harmony improv 1 through 4, sure.
It's always the case, isn't it? You know, as long as you can get through all those, and then you can do as much improv as you want. Yeah. But that's really what it's about getting an education as well, because you're teaching them skills that are going to be used their whole careers and their lives.
Right.
Which is very, very exciting. I think right now we're going to take a little bit of a break. I wanted to tell you again, I've been talking to Professor Mike Holliber, director of CUNY's Jazz Festival. After that break, we will come back, and there will be Professor Holliber on piano, John Ludlow on alto sax, Wallace Stelzer on acoustic bass, and Colin Hinton will be on the drums. So stay tuned. There's going to be some fabulous music coming up in the next segment.
You're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
The Educational Theater Program at the City College of New York proudly presents the 2014 Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Family Arts Day offers free fun for everyone. There will be theater games, face painting, puppets, sing-alongs, clowns and mask making, live performances, and much more. That's Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., held at Aaron Davis Hall on the campus of the City College of New York at 135th Street and Convent Avenue. For a full schedule of events and directions, visit www.ccuny.edu/edtheater.
Today, you hit the snooze bar. You checked your email. You checked your fantasy football team. You rejected an insulting trade offer. You ate your lunch. You did all the things that one normally does the day before a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane blows through your city, leaving it in a state of ruin. You never know when the day before is the day before. Prepare for tomorrow at ready.gov/today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York. WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The Stanley Mirsky MD Educational Unit of the Mount Sinai Diabetes Center presents free diabetes education classes. Learn how to manage your diabetes and enjoy a better quality of life. Invite your friends and family to help you reach your goals. Prevent, control, thrive. Classes are Monday evenings at 6 p.m. and Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. All classes are held at the CAM building, located at 17 East 102nd Street, between Madison and 5th Avenue. Classes are free, but you must register. To register, call 212-241-3422, option number 4.
Harlem has its own radio station, WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
Welcome back to City Talk. I'm your host, President Lisa Koiko, President of the City College of New York. We've just heard a wonderful jazz performance by Professor Holliber and students in the jazz program here at City College. It is truly my pleasure now to bring them into the studio with me and invite them to talk to us a little bit about what inspired you. You are amazing, and it's just such a wonderful opportunity for me. I feel blessed that I have students like you here at City College. So we're going to start Wallace on bass. Wallace, tell me what inspired you to, two things. What inspired you to enroll here, but have you always loved jazz your entire life?
Well, I guess I'll start out with that. No, I didn't always like jazz. In fact, I didn't really ever listen to it until high school. It was the first time that I was introduced to it. Yeah. In fact, nobody in my family is musicians, so I kind of just, I picked up bass because the orchestra director wanted me to play bass. There weren't a lot of bass players. And then, and during high school, I was like, well, I'm kind of done with classical. Let me try jazz, and I ended up really liking it. So wasn't always interested in that.
That's really cool. And so what made you think about City College?
Well, I'm from Houston, Texas.
Really?
And I actually had never heard of it while I was in high school, but I heard that John Patitucci, who's a fantastic bass player, just one of my idols, was teaching here. And when I enrolled here, he was on the faculty, and so that was the big draw to City College. But in addition to which, I wanted to be in New York City, so that's where the jazz scene is, in many regards, doing the best. So,
yeah, that's really interesting. So, Mike, when we were talking before, you talked about how wonderful the faculty are, and they do draw, and you guys are all such great faculty and professionals in your own right. That is really wonderful. Has your family supported your musician's passion and career? I'm just curious.
Yeah, thankfully.
That's wonderful. That's a blessing.
They're
That's
a little
really
worried,
wonderful.
maybe, but they're supportive.
Well, I think we always worry about our children and make sure that they can make a living and do whatever. But that is wonderful. Do you also all play on the side and do gigs and things outside of class yourself here and around?
Yeah. I've got a couple of gigs now that occur regularly, and I actually just finished recording an album with some other City College alumni.
Really?
So
oh, how
hopefully
fun.
that'll be coming out soon.
Well, you have to tell us because we want to get the word out to the whole community when that comes out.
Excellent.
Make sure you do. No, absolutely. We love to really tout and talk about all of the successes that you have. It's very, very important. It's not only encouraging, but we're so proud of what you do. We just want to shout it from the mountaintop. So don't forget. Promise me, right?
Yeah, thank you.
We promise me. Colin.
Yes.
Colin, how long have you been playing drums?
I got a drum set when I was 9, so I guess about
Long time.
17 years or so.
Wow. We were admiring when we were watching, and you have to tell me again because I'm not. You were going from like the wooden drumsticks to the ones that are more. They look
Yeah,
like.
they're called brushes.
Oh, thank you. They look like brushes. That should be
it's-
logical. Logical. But we said, which was fascinating to us, is that it was this kind of. You didn't even notice. It was so fluid from going from one to the other.
Oh, thank you. That's actually a huge compliment.
No, we were like, oh, he's not playing. He's playing with something else. And, so tell me about when you use the brushes. Do you think about it? Do you practice with both?
Oh, yeah. I think I definitely think about it. I practiced sticks and brushes a lot. It really depends on the situation. It's a lot of people think it's a volume thing, like the brushes are quieter than sticks, and I don't really think about it like that. It's more of just like it's a different texture. I think it has like in general kind of a different feel and a different vibe to it, and
that's what we were saying, because we were saying what it sounds to us as listeners, as it's got a lot, when you use the brushes, there's kind of a richness overlay in the texture that we can hear that just sounds very different than when you switch back to the sticks. Do you guys teach that, by the way, Mike? Do you teach?
They're drum teachers too. I mean, we would ensembles.
Right.
In ensembles, though, we would talk about the taste of when to go to what, and then some of the things Colin was talking about, that it's not just volume, but it changes the feel. That's really, really true. And you should be able to play quietly with sticks so that you can, as Colin does, like drummers learn how to play in control, and then they can choose their textures. There's other things that get used occasionally too.
Yeah.
What? Tell me.
Well, in my stick bag right now, I have my sticks and my brushes. I have some mallets, like timpani mallets. I have a set of knitting needles. I have a couple of knives, like kitchen knives.
Are they?
I didn't know that.
Are they metal or bamboo knitting needles? I'm a knitter. I love to knit.
I think
but
they're
I'm
aluminum.
curious.
Actually,
Aluminum. Okay.
But yeah, I like the sound.
Do you have plastics in there?
Yeah, I do.
What are blast sticks?
These little like.
It would be like a whole bunch of, let's say, bamboo rods that are maybe like 40 of them, so it'd be maybe an inch in diameter, and then they're just tied together. So it's like a stick, but it's actually in 40 little pieces. Sounds beautiful.
Oh, that's so much fun. And so what brought you here to City College?
That's an interesting story.
Yeah, we're interested in hearing
it.
Wallace and I are both from Texas. I'm from Dallas originally.
Okay.
And I went to University of North Texas for about 5.5 years and still had 2 years left on my degree.
This is the biggest jazz program in the country, by the way. There's like 1,500 majors. It's insane.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
just so big, yeah.
Yeah, it was very big, very competitive school. I loved it dearly, but after growing up in Dallas and spending 5.5 years at North Texas, I decided it was time to get out. And I still had a lot of time left on my degree, and so I moved up here and swore I'd never go back to school again. I lived here for a couple of years working, playing, teaching, and just kind of decided that I wanted to go to grad school, but unfortunately to go to grad school I have to have an undergraduate degree.
Right, gotta get the bachelor's.
And I got in touch. I have some friends that play with Scott Reeves' son, and they told me about City College, and said, get in touch with Scott. He's a really nice guy. He'll probably be able to help you out if you tell him your situation, that you essentially already have a degree but want to actually finish it. And that was about a year ago, and I've been really happy here ever since.
I'm so glad. And I think that is very important what you're talking about in terms of paths. And the University of North Texas, I know them for some of their economists and their other work. Fabulous school, but sometimes your pathways have to meander a little bit before you.
Yeah, it took me a little bit, but better late than never.
Well, and you worked and you developed more of a sense of really what your direction is and where you wanted to go to, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Cool.
I don't know.
So you have one semester left, you said, or about a year?
God willing, yes.
Well,
I just want to be done with undergrad. I just want to start graduate school.
And what do you want to do with your master's degree?
Actually, I really, I'm probably gonna end up staying at City College.
Okay.
I'm really interested in taking a lot of the classical composition classes that they offer, the graduate level ones.
That's interesting. And tell me why. I'm curious.
A lot of the music I listen to is heavily influenced by modern classical composers.
Okay.
And
That's true of a lot of modern jazz composers.
Oh, really?
Me too.
I
There's
didn't know
there's a
that.
lot of harmonic and formal information to be gotten from the classical world.
Oh.
That's where a lot of our modern language has come from.
I didn't know that.
with a lot of the jazz stuff, I feel like if there's something that I really want to learn or focus on, I have the resources to be able to either figure it out on my own or know someone that I can go and take a few lessons from. But as far as like really advanced 21st century classical composition techniques, that's something that I would much rather prefer to be in a classroom kind of environment for.
Very interesting. Oh, thank you. That's really very interesting. I love your story. And John, what inspired you to play alto sax?
Well, originally my parents wanted me to play an instrument. I played piano for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Until first or second grade. And they wanted me to continue playing music. So
It's interesting you say until first or second grade, so that you must have started what, when you were 3? Or
I guess
5,
so.
4?
4 or 5 probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a few years. And so I like the look of the saxophone being gold and curvy. And
but isn't that what attracts us to different things, right?
That's right. And there was a local guy, Hal McCusick, in Sag Harbor, near where I live.
Oh.
And he played with Charlie Parker,
wow.
Coltrane, led his own band with Paul Chambers, Bill Evans. And so I started studying with him and studied with him until 2012.
Oh my goodness. So you come from Long Island? Or?
Yeah, during the week I live in Long Island City, but I live in Bridgehampton.
Oh,
I've lived there
okay.
my whole life.
Yeah, because that would be a long commute into City College from Bridgehampton.
Couple hours, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So for you were inspired. First, you liked the shape of the instrument and the feel. It's a beautiful instrument. And then you got inspired by musicians.
That's right, yeah.
So tell me about City College, how that fits in what you want to do with your life, in addition to, I assume, playing professionally, but...
Well, yeah, I'd like to just play music, make a living playing music, go on tour, studio stuff, whatever work comes my way. And City College is great because of the faculty, and there's a high level of students here too. So it's great to play with them, set up jam sessions, and just learn.
That is wonderful. How do they find studio work? I mean, how did you find your things to do, your gigs and...
You know, you never know when you're going to make a connection.
Okay.
And there's so many different places to work. I always think about that like, people aspire to different levels, and some people be touring all over the world and playing with as a sideman with the greatest people, or maybe becoming very well known, and then some people will end up teaching here, and some people end up playing on Broadway, and some people end up playing in a community theater and teaching lessons here, and there's just so many different places to fit, and so many... You never know who you're going to meet when you'll make a connection, and you'll end up connected to a different world. Like, I know so many hundreds of musicians, but I know if I met one person I didn't know, that would probably be a connection to 200 people that I didn't know in the scene. So, you know, you never know if you're going to end up getting some studio work, which there's not as much of that as there used to be.
Why is that?
It's technology related. So much more of the music that's used to soundtrack commercial work is synthesized or just borrowed from old music. It used to be one of my very good friends, who's actually friends with Wallace's teacher, Dr. Porter, right? Isn't that Dr. Bob? Morgan, yeah. One of my best friends, Marvin Stamm, great trumpet player. In the 70s and the 80s, he was one of the busiest guys. Every day he played like 3 commercials. And you'd hear them on the radio, and then he'd play a soundtrack for a variety show, and then he'd play a soundtrack for a TV commercial, and then that's rare now.
I mean, quite frankly, what you hear are like the pop and hits on the radio. A lot of television commercials almost take those songs and they make you kind of tired of the songs by the time you've heard them for the 1,000th time, and or you can't get them out of your head, you know, because every time you think the song, you think the commercial product as opposed to. But I guess that's true.
That's the idea.
Yeah,
I'm sure on their perspective, that's the idea. Have you guys played together a lot before this? Do you play as an ensemble, or?
I think this is the first time we've played.
It's the first time this group
Get
specifically has played.
Did you hear a rehearsal when I went in there? I said, okay, we're due take the Coltrane, right? I counted off with the takes short solos, trade fours.
You're kidding me.
Next tune with intro. That's what I was talking about before, about everybody knowing their roles, and everybody knows the tunes, and you just do what you're supposed to do.
My mouth is hanging open because I would have thought you played together pretty routinely.
We've all played together, and
but in different,
sort of the transitive property. But that works in jazz, as long as you like each other, right?
Amazing. That is pretty amazing. I know the CUNY Jazz Festival is coming up, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about it. Are you guys playing in the CUNY Jazz Festival, or?
I am, yes. I'm playing in the small jazz ensemble that Ray Gallen leads.
Okay. Now, do you have to audition for that when you?
No, you don't.
Okay.
You don't.
We try and make sure that all the students get a certain amount of experience with the small ensembles. There aren't quite enough of them for every student to be in an ensemble every semester.
How many majors do you have?
There's probably about 80 now, maybe 85.
Okay, that's substantial. It's not 1,500 like in North Texas.
Yeah.
So you get a different experience, but there are enough students, but a lot of students.
Mm-hmm. CUNY Jazz Festival, this is the 14th year, and every year we invite the other schools. College of Staten Island has been here, and Lehman has been here, Queens College, York, Borough of Manhattan Community College. Some of them are regulars, and some of them occasionally. We play for each other. And then there's a guest every year. This year the guest is a great pianist named Kenny Werner, and he plays with one of the student ensembles, and then he leads a jam session where he'll do essentially what we just did, which is just get up there with a bunch of people and say, what do you want to play? And someone will say, let's play All the Things You Are, and he'll say, okay, and then they'll listen to each other and have a good time. And then the second night of the festival, he'll bring his own trio, which I think he's had the same trio for at least 12 years now. Do you guys know how long?
Yeah, it's been,
with Ari
the first record is like 2001, I think.
Okay, so 13 years without a personnel change, same bass player and drummer, and
that's pretty.
A lot of recordings
unusual.
And touring, and Kenny is one of the piano players that I've listened to the most and have many of his recordings. Great. So, and he's on Wednesday night at one of our graduate ensembles is at 7:30, and then he's at 8:30. But we start every day at noon with student ensembles.
And this is taking place in Aaron Davis Hall.
Tell
me where it is. Tell the audience where it is, and it's open to everybody.
It's open to everybody. Admission's free for everything. And Aaron Davis Hall, Theater B, from noon to about 5 each day, and then there's a break, and then from 7:30 to 10.
And Aaron Davis Hall is on 135th and Convent, right?
That's right.
On the corner of 135th Street and Convent. And you will notice there's a lot of scaffolding, but the building is open. We're repairing a lot in Aaron Davis Hall. We've put a number of millions of dollars into it to make sure it's a better performance venue than it has been in the past, and we're proud of that. So 14th year. Now, are there jazz programs throughout CUNY in all of the music departments, or?
Well, this is the largest one that has a dedicated jazz program.
Okay.
The one at Queens is also pretty large, but that's at the graduate level only. They don't have an undergraduate jazz program.
Okay.
Just graduate. Our graduate program is small, as I said, about 15 students. Yeah, it's great. Really high level. I mean, the two small ensembles at the graduate level are fantastic.
Okay. Now, what is a small ensemble versus a big ensemble in terms of number of instruments, players, sections?
That's a really good question. A standard jazz orchestra big band is 16 or 17.
Okay.
So that's 5 saxes, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, piano, sometimes guitar, bass, and drums. And I think probably small ensemble, 7 or less. Maybe I would consider small ensemble, and above that sort of little big band kind of thing.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Oh, this has been just wonderful. I just want to, again, make sure the audience knows to mark your calendars for the CUNY Jazz Festival on Tuesday, May 6th and Wednesday, May 7th at Aaron Davis Hall from noon to 10 both days. Again, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for taking the time, because I know you're busy. It's that time of year, our students, where you're rushing toward finals, final performances, auditions, tests, depending on what you're doing. Professor Holliver, I can't thank you enough. You're amazing.
Well, thank you.
But this has been just so much fun. I wish you tremendous success. This is so great.
Can I thank you for your work on behalf of jazz? I know you're associated with the Jazz Museum of Harlem.
Yeah,
and that you're about to get the first Jazz and Community Leadership Award.
I know.
So
oh, wow.
Congratulations for that. And
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting. This is so much fun for us.
Now,
is that true?
Well, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
And to me, it's all about listening to you guys and seeing the wonderful things you do. And again, talking to faculty like yourself. I don't get a chance to get down as much as I can to hear you, see you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish you tremendous fun, success, and remember, if your album comes out, you have to tell me. Any of you, I'm being really serious, any of you, faculty members, students, when you have something that you're proud of, please share it with me, because we want to tell the rest of the community about it. And I can't tell you all here in the community, in the Harlem community, how wonderful and blessed we feel that we're part of this great community. And jazz is such an important part of Harlem and the Harlem tradition. So thanks again for joining us at City Talk. Thank you, Tina Dixon, our board operator. The show was produced by Angela Harden, who's here as well, general manager of WHCR. Again, I'm your host, Lisa Koiko, president of the City College of New York. Stay tuned, and after a brief message, the band is going to take us out. Again, thank you, and we'll talk to you again in May.
Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
The Educational Theater Program at the City College of New York proudly presents the 2014 Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Family Arts Day offers free fun for everyone. There will be theater games, face painting, puppets, sing-alongs, clowns and mask making, live performances, and much more. That's Family Arts Day, Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., held at Aaron Davis Hall on the campus of the City College of New York at 135th Street and Convent Avenue. For a full schedule of events and directions, visit www.ccuny.edu/edtheater.
The Stanley Mirsky MD Educational Unit of the Mount Sinai Diabetes Center presents free diabetes education classes. Learn how to manage your diabetes and enjoy a better quality of life. Invite your friends and family to help you reach your goals. Prevent, control, thrive. Classes are Monday evenings at 6 p.m. and Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. All classes are held at the CAM building, located at 17 East 102nd Street, between Madison and 5th Avenue. Classes are free, but you must register. To register, call 212-241-3422, option number 4.
Harlem's got its own radio station. Once again, back is the incredible WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
You are listening to WHCR New York. I'm Ryan, also known as Rye Class, because I play the most popular classical music for your entertaining and relaxing needs. So sit back, relax.